Hello all, here we go again today with another matchup for you. This time we've got Kickin playing as the Ravener Alpha, already in a tunnel as we can see. Where is he going to? Oh, he's going over here. Bit of a different map for you. Nope, this is not the Redux version that we see in the League of Greentooth Jungle, rather this is the retail version. And Kickin's opponent that he's going to be fighting on this rather innovative map is Broodwich, playing as a Warlock. So Eldar versus Tyranids, that's the first thing to discuss. Crazy matchup, extremely volatile, units can die on either side extremely quickly. And this matchup's going to be interesting because, on the one hand, typically you'd say that the tunnels of the Ravener Alpha provide him with a massive advantage because this map, as you can see, is horizontally extremely long. So the tunnels can be used to cut out a lot of that travel speed and give the Ravener Alpha an advantage, but he's against Eldar. So whilst the Ravener Alpha can use the tunnels to his advantage, the Eldar can very much use the webway gates to their advantage. Might see a juicy destructor on the Homogonts here. Nope, just some ranged attacks for now. Oh, that was not really the juiciness that was required there. Come on, Warlock. Pick it up. Lots going on already. You can see all the units are splitting up to try and capture this map. There's a lot of ground to cover, so the early game is a bit of a very much scatter mission. All the units just split up in separate directions and hope for the best. Of course, early on when you've got unupgraded Eldar troops, well, especially the Dire Avengers, and unupgraded Gaunts and Gants, they're not really going to be able to do anything against the enemy heroes. The enemy heroes in this instance are completely uncontested. That said, it seems the Ravener Alpha must have been caught out of green cover here, because the Dire Avengers have managed to force him off quite promptly. Generally, if he is in green cover, Dire Avengers are not going to do too much. In fact, somehow, the Dire Avengers haven't even lost any models. So I think that must have been a bit of a misplay from Kickin there, not realising that the Dire Avengers were nearby and ready to pounce. This contested VP is extremely peculiar. Very, very short distance from either of the bases, so it seems to just change hands constantly. I remember when I was playing this map in retail, quite often you'd see a strategy where the enemy, regardless of whether they'd actually want a setup team for the matchup itself, would purchase a setup team just to leave them like here or here and cover this VP, because as soon as you've caught it, the enemy then can't actually decap it if you've got your setup team sat there. And the other advantage is, even if they've got a jump squad and they jump your setup team, if it's here, I mean, look at the range. Okay, well, we can't see it here, but look at the range on this side. Say you've got a shuriken here, you only have to fall back, like, maybe 3 in-game units, and that shuriken is able to intercept them. In fact, I don't know if this pillar is a shot blocker. Regardless, it's not very difficult to suppress them with the base turrets, so shurikens down this side is going to be a bit of a problem for Kickin. Kickin's got those Raveners though. I think that makes sense against Eldar. I think Raveners are a great purchase with that high burst fire damage that they've got. It tends to kill them Eldar models extremely quickly, which is really good for the harassment that you need in the early game against the Eldar. Because Eldar have really good wipe potential, but if you can utilize the superior speed that Tyranids have, as well as the superior damage and cost effectiveness in one-on-one fights, you're going to end up with quite the economic advantage. The problem is, it's so easy for the Eldar units to wipe out Tyranid ones. You've got grenades in retreat, you've got destructors. Oh, wow, he's actually burrowing further into the shuriken here to go for the wipe. And he does get it, but these Raveners look in a really tough spot. I don't know if Banshees have used fleet. No, they haven't, so they're going to fleet in. But that was a really timely crippling poison there from the Termagants to save the Raveners. Only losing 1 model, even though the squad was on 30 HP. That was very fortuitous. Fortunately for the Banshees, they only lose, well, no models. 200 HP, but no models. Lots of XP on the Warlock. I suppose that would be fairly expected with all the destructors that you're going to get on the Gaunts and Gants. In fact, a little bit disappointing for Broodwich. I'm sure that he's not actually level 2 in his Warlock. No XP on the Termagants yet. And we start to see some of these grenades. Unfortunately, these look like they're going to be a whiff. Kind of predicted that the first grenade would actually cause the Termagants to want to retreat into the second one, but Kickin was wise to it. He wasn't going to fall for that trick. The Raveners, you can see, are already putting in a lot of work. That was 2 models they bled using that burst DPS that they've got. And the awkward thing about this VP, I mean, the Banshees really aren't going to be doing too much, because even if they get into range, it's just such a short distance back to the base, and then they're back out and bursting down the enemy melee squad. So it is very favourable to suppression teams and ranged compositions, so being able to wipe that Shuriken early on, that's going to put Kickin in a huge advantage, especially because with Ravenous, he definitely has the superior ranged force. In terms of the map control and the rest of the map, well, it's looking like Kickin has the better half of it, but he could really do with getting some more tunnels up here in the corners, where it's very unlikely that Broodwich is going to be sending units, and even if he does, the only units that's going to be up here most likely in the early game is going to be the Warlock, and the amount of time it takes for the Warlock to kill a tunnel, it's not really going to be worth it. So I'd like to see him utilising that. He's utilising this tunnel really well. I do like the position of it behind the line of sight blockers, so the Dire Avengers can't just easily shoot at it. And the Banshees are going to finish it off though, and he needs to be careful with the Raveners that they don't lose a model. As great as Raveners are, if you do lose a model on them, it's really, really painful for your economy. I think it's about 60 requisition per model. We'll see soon though when they get back to base and have to reinforce. But he does win this engagement. The burst damage is simply too much when there's no control for the Eldar. You really need to have your hero down here to try and interrupt the Raveners and the Ravener Alpha to minimize their range DPS, and also, well, typically you'd have a Shuriken, and then in tier 2 you can get things like the Autark for her Scorpion Shield, which is a passive ability that she has that reduces the range damage that any nearby Eldar troops take. Those kind of abilities are absolutely key to beating Tyranids, because, as I said earlier, cost to cost, pop to pop, Tyranids are far higher in damage, and not only that, Tyranids are faster when you're not using Fleet of Foot, so the only advantage that Eldar has is it's got cooler abilities, more powerful abilities, better wipe potential. That was a really greedy Destructor. I'm not sure what he was doing there. I think he might have used the Destructor instinctively, seeing the Termagants, and then had his attention diverted down south to the Raveners. Well, we might actually get a chance to see the Ravener reinforce cost, but okay, what is it? Yeah, 66 requisition, man. That's a lot of requisition. I mean, you're really approaching the tactical marine levels there, so you really don't want to lose Ravener models. Banshee's actually taking this opportunity to go in for a bit of a gem bash. Correctly, they prioritise the tunnels. I think that is the better decision in this instance. Tunnels are going to be so vital in this map. Absolutely key. Banshees being level 2 means they're going to get a whole lot of specials on these Raveners, and the Ravs can't get any on them. And that's all they need. They're just waiting for specials, and that's another Ravener model down. In fact, maybe 2. I don't know what happened to him. He didn't seem to burrow. I think he just got chain knocked back, so that's 2 more Raveners dead. That's 120 requisition down the drain. It's really hindering Kickin's economy in spite of the fact that he has such dominating map control. I mean, look at the points, man. So he's got these triple requisitions here. They're not all fully matured, but they will be soon enough. However, Broodwich has repurchased his Warlock, who is incidentally level 2, which means he's going to be spamming a lot more Destructors, and it also means that he can't be specialed by the Raveners or the Ravener Alpha. And the combined blob of the Eldar in this instance are able to basically finish off all of Kickin's gem farm, but Kickin quite wisely, he knows he doesn't want to take this fight, so he's transitioned all of his troops away. In fact, did he drop down another Ravener? Oh, he has. That's pretty meta. It was definitely a retail thing that you could do. Drop down a second Ravener Brood in tier 2 and then get your Venom Brood to get ridiculous range damage. Raveners aren't quite as great in range in Elite, but they're still very good, and against Eldar, that high burst range damage is going to be very painful. I'd expect to see the damage synapse on the Ravener Alpha as well, and of course we have the Venom Brood coming to provide its own range synapse very shortly. And I must admit, if I was Broodwich, it should be fairly obvious that the Venom Brood's coming, so you're going to avoid going for a vehicle of any sort. This is actually a really tricky situation. He has the Warlock in retreat path, but somehow he manages to not actually get it in the correct position for an Ethereal Slash. That could have easily been a wipe on the Gaunts. Decent grenade though, killing 3 or 4 Gaunt models, that's something, and he picks up a few more in retreat. He does go for that Autark. I think that's a really good decision. You're not going to want to go for a vehicle, because you've got to expect that the Venom Brood is going to be coming out when he's already got 4 range squads on the field and he's playing a Ravener Alpha. It's too obvious. The Venom Brood's going to buff his anti-infantry anyway, so of course he's going to get the Venom Brood when it also secures his composition against vehicles. Really like the Autark purchase. It's going to help control this contested VP nicely, running in, using her fast speed, getting the decap, jumping away if necessary. And with the width of the map, having a fast speedy unit like the Autark, really helpful for the map control. And finally, as I said earlier, she provides the Scorpion Shield, which means all these Eldar infantry, crucially the Banshees when they're sprinting in themselves, are going to be taking 15% less damage from this ranged composition that Kickin has. And this has balanced out the economies quite evenly. Now, of course, the disadvantage that Broodwich has is he is far outnumbered by the Tyranids. But I guess it's partially expected. These Termagants, whilst they do have a lot of numbers, don't have too much now that we're in tier 2 other than the numbers. The Banshees get resistance to range whilst they're fleeting, add in the Scorpion Shield, add in Distort Field from the Warlock's Global Bar, and potentially the Cloak of Shadows from the Warlock as well. The Banshees are not going to be taking a lot of damage from ranged units. So I think Kickin must have that in mind here. He's going to have to play this sort of ratting game, get the damaged Synapse, try and bleed the Eldar as much as possible, get them stuck in tier 2 and slowly try and mitigate the VP bleed whilst taking up and get that form back Khan effects out, because then you've got something to scare off the Banshees and the Autark from getting into melee whilst also having the range superiority as well. The problem of course is that Broodwich isn't going to allow him to do that. He's spreading out his units all across the map, getting that VP pressure finally back into his control, because he is down 110 VPs or so, but not for long. He needs to get more tunnels up as well, just Kickin in this instance. We've seen some good placement early on, but we've not really seen too many on this sort of upper 50% of the map. We've seen one or so around here, one here, but that was about it. And we do see the first pair of webway gates going down now. This is going to help Broodwich maintain the map control against the far speedier Tyranid army. And as you can see, even though there's a detector on the field, it's just not that helpful. Well, we see a warp throw into the Banshees. Probably going to be a dead Venom Brood model, maybe 2 in fact. Oh my god, look at the damage! Wow, easily killed 2 of them. In fact, this Ravener Alpha might even go down if there's a fleet of foot. I feel like the Ravener Alpha probably could have died there. Only got just over 200 HP, it's not that durable. And that's most of the Tyranid army routed. I mean, these 3 squads at the moment, they're pretty much soloing everything. The only problem I see for Broodwich at the moment is that he doesn't have any power, and because of the positioning of this map, it's so easy for Kickin just to stroll through the mid like this, and boom, where's he at? Oh, he's at Broodwich's power. In fact, I think the best option here would be to build your power up this side. Oh, we did actually get the webway gate, that's quite unfortunate. Build another webway gate up here. Start to produce your power on this side so it's a little bit further away from Kickin's base. And probably just start noding this as well, because I really feel like he needs to start getting some power up, get a fire prism, place it in the mid round like here. Maybe get a D cannon down here, that'd be pretty cool. The awkward thing against Tyranids is you don't really want to go vehicles, because if you go vehicles, they've already got the Venom Brood. And in fact, he's already got the Corrosive Flower as well. So these 2 options here, they're really good anti-infantry, but also double up as really good anti-vehicle. So by choosing to get a vehicle, you're kind of making these purchases more optimal than they otherwise would be anyway, because he's going to get them for the anti-infantry. We see pretty huge damage from the initial burst here, but the Autark does jump in. But there's a crippling poison available. Oh no, there's not. There's only 1 Termagant here, so that... Wow. Okay, that was not particularly well managed. But yeah, the crippling poison was used, so the Banshees definitely could have gone onto the Termagants, but the Ravener Brood didn't really need to retreat there. It could have easily burrowed out of the way. I suppose it couldn't really deal with this force, but I don't think mass retreating in that instance was the optimal play. I wonder what Kickin's economy is looking like. I mean, 222 requisitions, so at the moment Broodwich actually does have a higher income. He's only got 2 fully matured points, just Kickin. Broodwich has 1, 2... well, 2 and 2/3. So it's pretty similar. I guess the Raveners really do have decent upkeep. But yeah, the Venom Brood get killed. Wow, man. Another 2 models just minced, and the Plasma Grenades come in. That's another 6 dead Termagants, and wow, the damage is just huge. A dead Ravener model. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure how Kickin is going to stay in this game. He's practically getting base raped at the moment, though that said, the damage on either side is so huge. It's very, very easy to throw away a unit entirely at this point of the game. In fact, you might see the Dire Avengers going down here. Homogots are just so speedy, they're so good at catching. And I mean, that's 4 models dead. Warp Spiders need to get out of there, god. They even lose a model themselves so fast, it's such a volatile matchup. So I suppose you're never secure, really. No matter how big your lead is, it's so easy to lose a squad in this matchup that the whole game can just turn on its head in an instant. But this map is pretty cool because as we're seeing, it kind of does prolong the games. It's very hard to get the triple cap because this VP is just constantly changing hands anyway. And whenever you win an engagement, you kind of have to spend all of your time just trying to cap up these sides, and then this leaves you vulnerable because while you're capping the top of the map, you're split up and isolated. So as we're seeing here, your squads can't defend themselves, they just get picked off one by one. So what happens then? Well, you have to mass retreat, and then your enemy does the same thing and gets all of the top of the map, but then you do the same thing to them, and it just drags the game out longer and longer. Also, of course, these power nodes, the distance from the enemy base to the natural powers is really not that large, so it's very difficult to build up any sort of economic advantage. I'm not sure this is the best usage of the Termagants. They'd probably be better off trying to... Oh, he's already got this Requisition. Well, they'd probably be better off going down here and gaining these rec points. A lot of bleed and a lot of upkeep for Kickin's forces here. He does need some more Requisition, I'd say. Wow, those Spawn Mines really don't seem to be doing much damage, but then again, the Banshees are level 4 already. Wow. That is quite something. Warp Spider's only level 1, but they did come out later, so we'll see how they do. I find the Gene Stealers quite a curious choice because I'm pretty sure they came out after the Warp Spiders, and you'd think that Warp Spiders are a natural counter to Gene Stealers. That would be the intuitive thing, I think. So that's a really curious choice, especially given that there aren't any melee warriors on the field to support these Genes. Nice chain knockback there, though. It's going to deal with the Banshees pretty well. They need to get out of there because these Gene Stealers are now using their Adrenal Rush. Okay, they do get out of there. They're going to survive to live this day, but maybe not the Autarch, man. She just dropped from full health to about 30% in about 4 seconds. I'm not sure what the plan is for either player here. They're sort of just delaying as much as possible, trying to trade VPs where they can, but they're not really making any advances in terms of their composition or their economy. We see the Cloak of Shadows. I really like that pick. Not a lot of people realise, but look at this buff that it gives. It reduces friendly infantry's received range damage by 15% and suppression by 30%. I don't think the suppression is as influential, as you're still going to get suppressed. Maybe it delays the suppression for about a second or so, but 15% reduction in the range damage that all nearby infantry take in an AoE, that's extremely powerful, especially when you add in the Distort field, which already makes you take 50% less range damage, and then the Scorpion Shield of the Autarch, that's an extra 15% range damage, and then the Fleet of Foot from the Banshees, that's 40% range damage resistance. He's fighting quite clearly a ranged based army, so it's a perfect choice. Hopefully he can get some wipes from it. Instances like this where the Termagants are isolated, super easy to sneak up Banshees on them. They might just want to soft retreat because they're obviously, you know, you don't want to retreat instantly as soon as you see a Warlock. The Warlock doesn't have any fire on the move damage, and you don't want him to be capping. Therefore, it's the perfect time to sneak up some Banshees behind him, ambush them, and get that Termagant wipe. Broodwich is doing really well here, actually. He's had these 2 fully matured Requisition points for quite some time now, and he's not really bled with his Warp Spiders or his Banshees, which incidentally, just a reminder, they're level 4. So his economy is really starting to pick off, and we do see the Warp Spiders are level 2 already. Let's have a look at Kickin's levels. Okay, he's got some... Everything's level 2 except for the newer Ravener Brood. That's fair enough. The Venom Brood don't really have any levels. That makes sense because they're not going to be hitting infantry very often in the first place. They're an anti-vehicle unit and their purpose is in supporting their allies. Kickin really trying very hard here to keep the termagates alive. Oh my god. I didn't actually know the Warlock could still leap after he started the ethereal slash ability. That's really interesting. I'm not sure if that's a bug or not. How do you even do that? I don't know. I'm gonna have to experiment with that quite a bit, because that seems pretty powerful. Oh, really nice warp throw here. Probably better to focus on the Venom Brood though, because the Raveners can counter it fairly easily with their burrow, and this actually looks like a horrible engagement for Broodwich. She needs to be really careful. The Ortash has got extremely low, but she is in the middle of the Venom Brood. The Venom Brood are losing loads of damage. Oh my god, look at the damage on the Venom Brood. They're gonna wipe! Oh my god, the triple backlash instantly killing the Venom Brood, causing a triple backlash. The Gene Stealers go down. Oh my god, this is a disaster. What a horrible engagement for Kickin. I thought Broodwich was done for. The Ortac got to about 15% HP in the middle of that. Wow. Well, the game changed with that one. Kickin only has 4 squads now, outnumbered by Eldar that are higher level than you. Not an ideal situation. The VP pressure is on as well. He's losing in VPs too. We need to see more tunnels. It's the only thing he can do for now. He needs to get some tunnels up. Try and delay for as long as possible until he can get that form back Carnifex out. Ethereal Slash just killing another Ravener. Oh, okay, he does pay for it with his life. That's good, that's good. Losing another Warp Spider as well. Hormogots might pick up another one here. So definitely punishing Broodwich for his arrogant Eldar scheming. That's a very optimistic grenade there by the Dire Avengers, hoping the Horms would leap in, but they'd already retreated for about 4 seconds. And we see the Webway Gates coming up. Clearly he's used the sight of owning this power point to place the Webway Gate here. Of course, it's not particularly optimal. In an ideal world, you'd take the time to place it up here, but of course he didn't have any units nearby, so that's cool. I'll let him off with that. And finally, we see these rec points being decapped. This is really important because they've been fully matured now for about, well, probably about 8 minutes or so. That's a lot of requisition that you give Broodwich. Ravener Alpha is kind of caught out on his own here. I think he was going for a tunnel, but he needs to be careful. If he goes for a tunnel right now, yeah, he's not going to survive, since the Ortac has got that Executioner Spear. More or less 65 power melee DPS. Oh, we see the Neurothrope. Oh, this is crazy. So he's going for the Neurothrope, that's fine. It's going to deal with all the infantry. But Broodwich knows that he's now killed the Venom Brood, and he's not seen any sort of unit come out of Kickin in a while, so he's probably expecting a Carnifex. This is actually going to go better than he even thought, because the Wraithlord is a really decent option against the Carnifex, especially a melee Carnifex. Nice grenade there. What was that, another 4 termagates picked up? Beautiful. But the melee Carnifex is going to be really decent against all the infantry that Broodwich has, but it won't kill a Wraithlord very quick, so that's why he's going for a Wraithlord. Against a Neurothrope, though, it's going to do even better. Even better. Wow, we're seeing the Tyranna formation on retreat. I'm really not sure about that usage to try and kill some Dire Avengers. I mean, are the Dire Avengers really the priority right now? I think he's going to regret that quite a lot when he sees the Wraithlord hitting the field. I think Kickin at this point is just getting really desperate, because he's got no VPs and he's got no map control. I think this is actually just going to be the end of the game. Broodwich turned it around beautifully. How it all came down to that single engagement. To be honest with you, when the Gene Stealers got inside the lines, I was just going to retreat. Like, if I was seeing that engagement, I was like, the Ortac is on 20% HP, I've got Gene Stealers in the middle of my lines, and I've got a primarily ranged composition as the Eldar. I'm out of here. But no, he stuck it out. The Venom Brood got slaughtered by the combination of the Warlock and the Banshees. And the chain knockback from the backlash, it just, everything died. There was nothing he could do. 10% health loss on all nearby Gene Stealers, Raveners, Hormagaunts and Termagants every time a Synapse creature dies. Amazing. He even had 852 red at the end, and to be fair, it wasn't like he wasn't using gates. We've seen a gate here, we've seen a gate here, he had the gate in the base. I guess maybe a little bit more distort field usage could have occurred in the early games, maybe a little bit of swift movement to push out of your base and help cap the map. But overall, that was really decent play. I really like this build. The Warlock clearly did amazing, level 5. Get the Cloak of Shadows. It helps you deal with enemy ranged compositions, but it also gives you that sweet +1 energy per second regen so that you can still spam your spells. You can fleet around the map, get into the correct position before an engagement starts. You can get into retreat paths and use your Ethereal Slash. You can throw as many warp throws out as you like. And we've seen those warp throws put in a lot of work, pulling in enemy Venom Broods. That's got to be the primary target. We've seen it here. You kill the Venom Brood, that's it. Game over for the whole Tyrannid ranged blob. On the other hand, I think Kickin really messed up here because I'm not exactly sure why the Venom Brood was so far forward. It must have been a misclick. You'd have your Ravenous here, your Termagants at the front because Termagants are nice and cheap, so if they bleed a couple of models, it's not too big of a deal. And then if the melee gets too far in, you've got Crippling Poison, you move the Termagants behind the Ravenous, then when they hit the Ravenous, you burrow forward into their ranged units, or burrow back if they've got more melee, and then you've got more Crippling Poisons. So you sort of stagger your ranged blob in lines, but that whole time, the Venom Brood is going to be at the very back of the line. And then, of course, you'd run the Gene Sealers in to counter-initiate. So why the Venom Brood was here, I'm not sure. Maybe that was a warp throw. You guys will be able to go back and have a look at it. But that was the defining moment, without a doubt, in this entire game. Even if Kickin did have a few more VPs, he'd be pretty screwed because he chose to go for the Neurothrope. I guess he kind of had to because he didn't have much power. He only had 30 power at the end of the game, and the can effects with a form back, I mean, you're looking at around 200 power or so, so he was kind of doomed at this point. Very interesting to see how Eldar can turn it around so easily. I think, broadly, the choices were sound until the Gene Stealers came out. They did quite well engaging the Banshees here, but they set back the form back for quite a while, and I think he needed to do it earlier so that he wouldn't have lost his gen farm. With an earlier form back counter effects, I think that would have been definitely a winnable matchup. Kudos to Kickin for getting the Shuriken wipe here. I would have been a pussy really and burrowed my Raveners back into the base when the Banshees leapt on them at such low HP, but he knew of course his Termagants were coming in to save them. That was a nice play. But overall, really solid play, really solid build orders as well. If anyone wants to know how to play the Tyrannid versus Eldar matchup, this is definitely a game to demonstrate it. And nice to see this map as well, not a map that you see very often, so I hope you guys liked having a look at Greentooth Jungle Original for a change. Maybe we could even get this in the map pool. Do we think it's too unbalanced? Is it more unbalanced than Outer Reaches or Leviathan Hive? I don't know. I think it's a cool map. It's got some nice niches. Allow it. Allow it. But with all that, that will be the end of this cast. Hopefully it was somewhat insightful for you. As I say, anyone looking out to play Tyrannid or Eldar, this is a perfect example for it. So that will be all for today. Thank you very much for watching. Torpid, out.